This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Hey, welcome on to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. I'll be meteorologist Evan Thomason. I'll be on your screen in just a moment, but all the focus is on the storms. Here's a live check onto our First Alert Doppler radar as we are just starting to get some storms building here for the daytime hours. Now, we kind of had a big surge of some storms hitting us in the overnight hours last night. Took a little bit of a break, if you want to call it that, here for the most part this morning. Although, again, here's the thing. Whenever it's not raining today, it's still going to be misty, gloomy, and cold underneath cloudy skies, and it's still not going to be a fun environment to be under, even when it's not raining here for the day today. So we're watching out, again, for those storms that are building, especially in pretty much all areas of the ArkLaTex here for you, from Texarkana all the way down to Nacogdoches here at this hour. In fact, Shreveport's about to get hammered by a good amount of moderate to maybe even some heavy rainfall in just the next little while. But keep in mind, we're still building in more rain out of the west. We still got plenty of moisture coming on through. And even when this rain is done, we're still going to be lingering around with some muggy, cloudy conditions still here for a while around the ArkLaTex. So, hey, let me introduce myself. Hello. I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. Again, thank you very much for watching the First Alert with a Breakdown, where, again, we just go into your forecast a lot more thoroughly in depth than what we just have time for during the news shows. We try to give you the always the most critical information during any kind of news show, but we're able to go into so much more thorough detail, much more clear detail on this podcast, and I don't have to feel like I'm speaking at 100 miles an hour as well doing it. It's a lot more calm environment, so to speak. Also, the best part about it is that you guys can ask questions to me live on this podcast. You can't do that on air unless you want to go to my social media page, which you can always feel free to do. But essentially, on our YouTube stream, there is a chat. I mentioned this time and time again, but essentially, again, there's a chat option. You can feel free to chat in your comments, your questions, your concerns, your issues, your reports, your weather reports. Hey, I take those as well. Whatever you got for me, because I love to take it. I love to hear from you guys, all right, here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. So, essentially, the rundown here for the day today is just all tailored toward the rain. Usually we have an exclusive content happening here for the day today. Today, I just figured we go into just talking about the storms because this is going to take a while to discuss. And hopefully we'll get a little bit of a better weekend in store. We'll see. We will see about that. So we're essentially just talking about this. Now, the last thing I'll get to before we get into the actual full layout of my graphics here in your full weather forecast is that today is not a First Alert Weather Day. It is not. We're not streaming on Facebook. We stream on Facebook for our First Alert Weather Days on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. But even though we have widespread rain, it's a gloomy day, plenty of storms around, no severe weather threats. And you would think that even one of those threats would be flash flooding, but thankfully it really isn't, because we don't have a substantial – we have a few tiny pockets, as we just mentioned on the First Alert Doppler radar, that do contain some pockets of moderate to heavy rainfall, yes, but they're actively moving across the ArkLaTex, and there's so few of them that we're not really worried about any significant rainfall totals from the system. There will be at least a little bit of substantial rainfall from it, yes, but nothing that's going to, again, flood over streets too badly, hopefully, rather than just a couple puddles. So, again, no severe weather threat. Today is not a First Alert Weather Day. So let's get into the whole rundown. I'll let you look at the radar as I get my graphics all together. Again, hopefully y'all are having a good Thursday, better than the weather better than the weather conditions outside, which are just flat out bad. Look, just one more thing. I'm usually a fan of all kinds of different weather, but this is one of the worst combos that I'm a fan of. Cold and rainy. I like rainy. I like cold. I don't like the two of them put together. That's gross, honestly, out the door. We'll take a look at your future track here in just a little bit. Sorry, I meant to backtrack, actually, a little bit. Back to the webcams here, first and foremost. And then we'll get to the current conditions with the temperatures, and then we'll see what's going to happen with our skies in just a little bit. But there's a live look into our Window World Sky Cam out into Texarkana. There you see the gloomy outlook there, giving us storms all around the northern end of the ArkLaTex. Meanwhile, Bossier getting a couple storms. And honestly, even though we haven't had too much measurable rainfall showing up on our radar, believe it or not, since the overnight hours and early morning hours, we've maintained this kind of a wet street outlook all morning long. So again, I just want to emphasize the point, even when it isn't raining today, and even when the rain is pretty much done, which happens by tonight, we still have these gloomy conditions that could continue wet roadways, not just persisting through tonight, but maybe even into tomorrow morning as cloud cover. What cloud cover does essentially is it limits how much our surface is able to actually evaporate. The water, the sunlight heats it up and usually helps out a lot with that. But since we're not getting really sunlight at all, unfortunately for the rest of the work week, we might be stuck into this kind of a pattern here for a little bit. So it's raining in most spots around the ArkLaTex. I think the little exception to that, I guess, is Natchitoches. Temperatures, though, in mid-40s pretty much everywhere you go. Lower 40s in for Harry's a Texarkana. So it is a chilly, cold, rainy day. It is cold, but it's not cold enough to the freezing point. Let me stress that out first and foremost. We are not dealing with any winter precip. You remember what happened back on Monday? We even had the slimmest hint of some freezing rain showing up in the northern end of the ArkLaTex from Monday. That's not happening at all with the system. All of this is flat out rain. If you want to see some winter precip, go up to Oklahoma, central Oklahoma, or go up to central Arkansas. It is technically in the same states as, our southeastern Oklahoma and our southwestern Arkansas counties. But the point is, it's not tipping down that far low, not that far south whatsoever. All right, so a chilly, rainy Thursday. Here's how the next couple of days work after today. Tomorrow is honestly similar to that of today. It's still chilly. We still have a good amount of cloud cover around. I think the only difference is that we don't have nearly as much rain that's going to be coming on through. In fact, I just have a slim chance of rain coming through here for your Friday overall on a dry but cloudy but also chilly day, and it kind of still sets forth, again, a gloomy and ugly environment that still lingers on, at least into the last day of the work week here for tomorrow. The hope is that we can get some sunshine out here for the weekend. There's some future tracks still trying to linger on a good amount of cloud cover still into both Saturday and Sunday, but there are a few future tracks which at least try to get in here, a little bit of sunshine in here in time for the weekend. We'll check out those coming up in just a bit. Let's talk temperatures, because it's not just the rain that's happening for today. Again, it's cold and rainy. Upper 30s in the spots from Idabel to Queen and Magnolia. That's the coldest spots around the ArkLaTex. Again, those are warmer than the freezing levels. That's, again, why we have nothing close to any type of winter precip around here. It's 40 in Texarkana, 45 in Shreveport, 44 in Natchitoches, 45 in Nacogdoches. Highs today, if you notice, they're pretty eerily similar to what you are hanging with here for now. That's the point. Temperatures are not going to warm up today at all, to be quite frank with you. 42 for Foreman, 43 in Boca Bow, 41 in Estamps, 40 in Hope. Across East Texas, 43 in Longview. It'll be 45 in St. Augustine, 44 in Carthage, 42 in Dangerfield. 45, one of the warmest spots today across Shreveport and Natchitoches, 44 in Bienville, 42 into Homer. Over the next 5 days, things start to warm up just a little bit more into tomorrow. And certainly a good bit more, especially into the weekend when we get highs back into the 50s. Just a little more comfortable around the ArkLaTex, but those high temperatures still staying on the long trend of things where we keep those high temperatures cooler than average. And that at least goes all the way through Monday of next week. But we're going to have a big change once we get into next week. So overall, here's how our high temperatures work out here for long term. Again, today, highs are only in the mid-40s. Once we get a little bit of sunlight back out in here for the weekend and a little bit back into Monday, that helps to at least amplify temperatures into the 50s. But once we have abundant sunshine taking over next week, those temperatures will be racing up there very quickly. We could have highs in the mid to upper 60s by the middle of next week, helping it feel a little more comfortable with maybe even a T-shirt and shorts weather, honestly, for Wednesday afternoon. So that's all I have with the temperatures moving on forward. Now let's get into the reason why probably most of you were here, watching out for these storms, which mainly happen between today and a little bit in tomorrow. But I think this mostly happens today with our storm coverage out and around the ArkLaTex. It all centralizes around this low-pressure center, which is out of the Gulf. And the question is, how much moisture from the south does this feed up north into the ArkLaTex? And it feeds us certainly still a good amount of moisture here for pretty much everybody around the region. Because, again, when we're facing rounds of storms, but the entire time we have this moist, cloudy environment in place all day. So what we're watching out for is more rounds of rain coming on through, with the heaviest bits of rainfall mainly centralized south of I-20, mainly because that's closer to the Gulf. Essentially, the surge, in fact, we actually have some flash flooding issues and some flash flooding potential for areas off into the southern ends of Texas and Louisiana. That's just because more and more moisture is basically slamming up onto the coast first, and then we almost get the leftovers of that. So essentially, it's just a game of how much moisture wants to go northward, essentially, with this kind of a system, especially since this low-pressure center is originating itself, and that's originating itself out of the Gulf itself. So the overnight storms were these. These are now moving well off, and you can see how quickly they're moving. They're moving off now into a stretch of rain from New Orleans all the way to Atlanta and the Carolinas here at this hour. That was the storms, again, that hit us in the overnight hours. We've had a little bit of a dry break with just some misty and low-lying cloud cover, misty conditions and low-lying cloud cover here for the morning hours, but watch what's coming out of the southwest. Still plenty more rain. If you don't know what these colors mean as well, essentially the darker the color, the thicker the cloud is. And usually the thicker the cloud is, the more moisture it contains. And the more moisture it contains, the greater chance of storms we have all around the ArkLaTex here for you with those certain clouds, essentially. So, again, the first round came through with these dark reds that you see from New Orleans, especially stretching into southern Mississippi and Alabama. That's gone. But essentially, we're bringing this into the region now, up north and east. It's going to cover us with some rain here throughout the middle of the day. And keep in mind, that's a cold front coming on through. So we've cooled things down to highs in the 40s here for today after having highs in the 50s yesterday. I know we talked all about temperatures already. All right, so getting more thorough into the rain picture, what's happening currently? Again, we got scatter storms here pretty much all around the region. I wouldn't call it widespread. Again, there's some areas that are dry, such as Natchitoches and the eastern edge of the ArkLaTex out northwest Louisiana. But Shreveport right now, about to zoom, if I zoom on in here for you. Let me go ahead and stop the loop, actually. For those of you in Shreveport and Bossier right now, just some storms kind of on the outskirts of town, west side of Shreveport, north side of Bossier here for the moment. But obviously plenty more storms out towards Blanchard and Greenwood are going to come slide on over. It's going to be a whole wall of rain that comes in pretty much momentarily all throughout the region here for you. And even then, we're building in more storms out of the west that are going to come on northeastward. That's how the pattern of all these storms is pretty much going at this point in time. These are all going northeastward and continuing to supply more and more rain to lead us again into the rainy day that we have all around the region. Now, elsewhere, we have storms all the way up into Texarkana here with mainly light to moderate rainfall all the way up through Hope. That's pretty much scattered all across southwestern Arkansas. A little bit of that's getting into McCurtain County, kind of. Good cell on Mount Pleasant right now. Again, that good moderate to heavy rainfall cell right here is just moving into Caddo Parish on the west side of Shreveport out towards Greenwood, Blanchard, and Hoyle City. That's moving northeast. We're probably going to clip Shreveport here in just the next few minutes. Meanwhile, another good cell of some moderate to heavy rainfall on the north side of DeSoto Parish, too. Even then, still light rain lingers from Mansfield all the way through Shreveport, including through Stonewall here at this hour. And if you look at some of these cells, I mean, we still got cells on the southern edge of town here in Sabine Parish and Sabine, a little bit of Sabine County there, too, around just the western edge of Milam there. And also tracking on to some light rain out towards Nacogdoches, too. Now, if I zoom out, this is a local look at the radar. Show you the full picture here of how much we have to get through here for the daytime itself. Here's the full picture. And again, this stretches forth a little bit of some mixed precip and some precipitation further up into central and northern Arkansas here at this hour. But this full little round of storms is going all the way down almost into southeast Texas. And keep in mind, the trajectory of these storms is moving up north and east. So I think this will happen. The case in point of what I'm trying to get at is it's going to be raining for a good next little couple of hours ahead before we finally dry up a little bit later on this afternoon, finally in for the region. So that's what's happening here for the moment. Let's take a look at our latest future track. Again, we're expecting scatter storms here through the lunchtime hour frame, pretty much throughout the region here for you, before finally seeing those scattered storm activity move across the areas of the eastern edge of the ArkLaTex, including Natchitoches, more towards like 2, 3 o'clock. We should be drying up by then, essentially for the afternoon hours before the afternoon commute home. But one thing I want you to watch is just the cloud cover lingering behind, because it still stays stuck on top of us through at least 6, 7 p.m. And I mentioned this earlier. With the cloud cover, but I'm reiterate it here, especially in this kind of a picture kind of set up already for you. With this cloud cover already set up in place here through at least 6, 7 p.m., it's hard for the environment to evaporate the moisture from the ground if we don't have any sunshine coming on through the area, especially if it's thick cloud cover, which is especially still going to be the case here for most of the southern half of the ArkLaTex, maybe getting a few peaks of sunshine in for the northern half. But overall, it's still going to be a wet commute home is what I'm trying to get at, even though it's not going to be raining per se. It's going to be raining during the lunchtime hour, but not during the afternoon. And essentially, again, that could cause maybe some travel issues. Just drive safely is what I'm trying to get at the end of the day. Now, moving on forward, I know this is kind of the end of our rainy skies here for the most part here for the day today, but you notice the cloud cover, it still sticks around, especially in the areas of the southern half of the ArkLaTex. And believe it or not, I mean, we could get a few peaks of sunshine in for Friday, but even Friday is looking to be gloomy and chilly as a result of having that mostly cloud cover around. Then if you head into Saturday, Saturday looks to clear things out a lot more. And again, that's just in time for the weekend. I think we still get a good amount of cloud cover around there for both Saturday and Sunday, but things are still looking more optimal, and I'm expecting to see the sun, period, by the time we get into the weekend at some point in time. All right, let's get over some details with the storms. As I mentioned earlier, today is not a first alert weather day. Again, NOT, it is not a first alert weather day, mainly because there is no severe risk for anybody around the region. Not expecting anything in terms of tornadic activity, no hail, no strong winds, no flash flooding to worry about. It's just a rainy day, keeping the grounds, the roadways just flat out wet on a rainy, cold day. And most of that rainfall, to be fair, will be tailored with a few more frequent storms in towards Natchitoches and Ruston, as opposed to, say, Idabel and DeQueen, which are kind of just getting a scarce few storms here at this area, at this time and place up to the northern edge of the ArkLaTex. So for the weekend, it may be a stray shower, but I overall should see mostly dry conditions both days, if not completely dry conditions. It's just going to be dealing with a little bit of cloud cover around. I think we see some peaks of sunshine come on through some portions of the day. Just a good amount of cloud cover still going to be around, and highs will be stuck into the mid-50s here. That's all before we warm up next week. I will share with you the full 7-day forecast after we come back from a quick commercial break. I'll do that, and I will answer any and all questions that you have about our weather forecast here after this. Hey, stick around. Again, we're going to go over the 7-day forecast, and I'll talk to you more after this. Stick around. Welcome back into the first alert weather breakdown. Again, I'm meteorologist Evan Thomas, and thanks for sticking with us and with our coverage of your rainy day. Again, in no severe weather, just watching out for the passing storms, and hopefully you're just watching this just from the comfort of your house, just because it's just a gross day to get out and around. I know if you got to get out to work, do some errands, yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But again, it's just a miserable environment out there, and we got so many more better days lined up in the thorough 7-day forecast that we're going to show here for you right now. I've already given hints to this earlier, but essentially there's a lot more sunshine appearing into next week compared to this weekend. And overall, you can kind of compare two different halves of a 7-day forecast with a little bit of a transition period in between. So essentially, again, today is your rainy day, a few lingering showers into Friday and the weekend before next week we lead ourselves into sunshine. And you can say the transition period leading us to a little more some sunshine coming on through mainly happens over the weekend. With us trying to get peaks of sunshine out, and then we have completely sunny skies lined up here throughout most of next week. That does not just go through Wednesday. I'm expecting completely sunny skies, to be quite frank with you, all the way through the next Thursday and Friday coming on through. So plenty of sunshine ahead, and that's going to warm us up as a result. Again, hot temperatures in the 40s today, but that's the coolest days that we have out of our entire 7-day forecast. Eventually we get into the 50s here for the weekend, and then reach into the 60s through next week. And that could be look to be stable here for the long term, getting us a little more comfortable conditions situated and sustained around the ArkLaTex, more to our typical averages here for this time of year. Because it seems like recently, between, I think it was like middle to late part of November, we were hot. We were 80s, and we were like, oh, this is way too hotter than average. Now, for the past week or so, we've been a lot cooler than average, certainly. That stemmed from last weekend, where we've had high temperatures only in the 40s, 50s. I even think a spare few of us, I even had temperatures only in the 30s back on Monday. The point is, that was way cooler than average. So now, we finally have a forecast that looks to be sustained long-term with temperatures that are right around the average, feeling us a lot more comfortable here for December standards. Should be feeling nice to get out, around, do some Christmas shopping, do those kind of things, and get in the season of things with it actually feeling like fall, but without you feeling like, you got to wear that heavy coat everywhere you go, essentially. Anyways, that's my full forecast here for the day today. Thank you all very much for joining us. I really appreciate it, especially any and everybody that watches the stream. I don't know, just can't say enough about it here for this Thursday. We got one more episode here for tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. It is the first Friday that we've had in a while that really won't be pertained to football forecast, believe it or not. College football is pretty much done. I mean, we do have 2 teams left, I believe, out of the entire, I could be wrong, but entire ArkLaTex for high school football that are left in season, because I think it's semifinals this week. For football, for championships. So, obviously, only a spare few teams are left in the hunt and left to have their seasons alive. So, we'll give you, obviously, a thorough forecast here for Friday night regardless. But college football's done. The only thing we have is Saints game. Cowboys play tonight, Thursday night over in Detroit. Saints play a road game on Sunday. We'll have the forecast for that coming up on the first hour with a breakdown here for tomorrow's exclusive content. In addition to that, point is, I don't have too much football anymore. 'Tis the season getting a little closer to, Christmas and whatnot. We're going to tailor our Friday forecast a little more into your regional weekend forecast. If you happen to be traveling anywhere around the ArkLaTex, outside the ArkLaTex specifically, out towards Dallas, Little Rock, New Orleans, Jackson, wherever you're going, north, south, east, west of here, we'll give you a forecast early for that to see how other areas around us are doing. We'll see how we're doing. All right. Anyways, that'll be on for tomorrow. Same time, same place, 10:30 on the first hour with a breakdown. Again, I'll be your host for that. I know CJ only hosted. CJ's only. Last thing I'll mention is CJ. I know we like to be co-hosts in this first alert with a breakdown. I know it's been a lot of me recently. I did all of last week's podcast. CJ has only been on once out of the past 2 weeks. It just has to deal with the holiday schedule around here. I believe next week he should be on a lot more, by the way. You should look for him around a lot more, especially earlier on in the week. I'll have more details on that tomorrow. But again, we got one more episode of First Over with a Breakdown tomorrow. I hope to see you then. Tomorrow, 10:30 on Friday. Be there, be square. Most importantly, hey, stay weather aware. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you tomorrow. get through the rainy day and we can get through the sunshine for the weekend. See you then.